What is up, dreamers? Welcome back to some Mobius Final Fantasy. I know people have been asking, they're like, Robbie, Dagger, when is that next Mobius Final Fantasy video? And honestly, I've been working on some stuff for you guys. You guys know that last week we worked on all the best things about Mobius Final Fantasy video, and I have been working on basically all the worst things about Mobius Final Fantasy. Haven't released it yet, not ready to be released completely yet, but I do strongly feel like we have to talk about the history of where Global has been, where we are now, and how we got here. Because there are some pretty crazy things that happened. If you haven't been around, since the global launch of this game, then you've missed out on a lot. But I'm gonna enlighten you on all that today. This video is going to be basically how Mobius FF got this way. The game we all love today, and basically the dark history surrounding all that. So strap yourself in. This one's gonna get crazy. We're gonna be clicking through some auto battles here while we talk. So just to give you a little something to look at. But let's talk about this. So the dark history of Mobius Final Fantasy. So I'm just gonna start this off and say we're gonna be focused on global here. But I will say that we can't not talk about JP. There's going to be a couple of times I bring JP up. So, keep that in mind, but the focus here is on global. The global community is fractured between global and JP. Everybody knows that. Global and JP are also very, very different games. So for this video, we'll be focused on global, but I will say that the communities are still very intertwined. And in a way, this can hurt the global players by creating kind of a roadmap to spoilers, either story spoilers, character spoilers, jobs, cards, and it does contribute to the overall mental fatigue of global players, while we're waiting for updates and patches, which in this game are what feels like a very, very long 2 weeks apart. So there is that, While global shows signs of trying to catch up to the JP content, JP is still more or less about a year ahead. Many players play both JP and global, and about half as many players play only one or the other. So to really understand the story of global, the global community, we need to talk about a few things that happened in this game's history. If you're a launch player, you may remember a time. You're probably going to remember some of these controversies that I'm bringing up today, and there's going to be a few of them. So let's get into them. When the game released, as far as gacha was concerned, this game was quite ahead of its time. Basically, there was little to no gacha when you first started this game. It was very, very limited. Jobs could be pulled exclusively on their own banner in just one pull, and many new banner cards were released in packs where you could just buy them all outright with a small amount of magnesite. Or, at the very least, they were released in a box-type fashion where you were guaranteed to get a new card each pull. But that slowly kind of dissipated out. At the time, what drew me to the game was that the game didn't have as much randomness. And from an old-school gamer perspective, as someone who remembers games before the gacha, this game was a breath of fresh air. Since my other two main titles at the time were Final Fantasy Brave Exvius and Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key. It's got like a new name now, we won't go into that though. Everything changed with the release of the Ace Striker job paywall. All of a sudden, in order to get yourself the newest legend job, you would have to fork over $65, 65 USD. So at the time, you could basically, the way Magicite was, you could basically buy jobs for basically around 20 bucks each. The way they were selling the Magicite, and the way you could buy it, there was like a job banner all on its own, and you could basically just pull regular jobs from this banner at will, basically. So you would give it 3K, it would give you back a job. There weren't nearly as many jobs in the pool, so this was awesome, honestly. But then came that $65 paywall, the Ace Striker paywall. I know a lot of you guys remember that one. Basically, yeah, you had to give over 65, you had to buy $65 worth of Magicite, to get that job, and there was no other way to get it. So this was a big mistake for Square Enix, as it sparked a lot of debating and controversy for a game with already a less than stellar start. This was the first sign of things to come. I have a YouTube video from that event where I was talking about it, and I was like, this is such a bad move. I even gave reasons why this was a bad move. I was like, yo, you're alienating your player base, you're fracturing your player base, but yeah. That was from my early YouTube days, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see that one, but it's there, you can definitely dig it up. It was clear that Square Enix would be using some very, very predatory practices in order to entice us out of our money, especially after the mythics. The mythic jobs, the 3 mythic jobs were released in the same fashion, all with a $65 paywall, and I think they were released about a week apart, something like that. So many players just plain left the game at this time, since it was clear that Square Enix saw players as walking wallets, and were no longer treating players with respect. I don't know if like management changed in Square Enix or something. Something must have happened, because it was such a drastic change for this game. If that wasn't a hard enough pill to swallow for many players, in May of 2017, oh, you guys know what I'm about to talk about, they announced the complete removal of the job pool banner, where you could spend 3K Magicite and be guaranteed a new job. By August of 2017, the 3K job pool that we grew to love was replaced with a 8-summon pity pool system that would guarantee a job after spending no more than 24,000 Magicite. Now keep that number in mind, 24K. We're going to be talking about that number quite a bit today, so keep that one in mind. This came as a shock to everyone, including me, because it just seemed unfair at the time. After having this system for over a year, I can honestly say that it was a terrible, terrible regression over the older system it just felt like it respected players more. This new system is basically only beneficial to hardcore players, or I mean, that's it. It's really it only benefits hardcore players. So, you know, that's my thoughts on that. That's opinion based. The makeup for the destruction of the job banner, I will say though, Square Enix implemented a basically farmable Magicite, which we all, at the time, we just ate that up. At the time, it sounded a lot better than it actually is. So let's talk about the differences. So yes, global players got to keep the distiller, and they got farmable Magicite, which you can get to about 24K. That number comes up again, right? Interesting number. You can get about 24K per month if you're playing the game a lot. And I do mean a lot. On average, to hit the 20K cap, you will have to put in at least 2 to 3 hours of grinding. Not gameplay. No. Important distinction there, because I feel like gameplay is when you're actually playing the game. Grinding is all in your head, right? But when we're doing auto farming, to me that's completely, you're not playing the game anymore. You're grinding now. You are grinding if you're auto farming the game. We'll talk about that more in other videos. And this was per day, so you will have to play 2 to 3 hours per day. Grinding, that means doing the same thing over and over. Which means you would have to play this game much more on average in order to get the same things you were getting before August 2017. Most games get more generous as they age, not less generous. Like, come on. This new system is a nightmare for casual players, which, make no mistake, that nightmare does eventually trickle down to even the most hardcore players. Also keep in mind that the prices of Magicite did not change to reflect the huge changes. They did not change. You're spending the same amount of Magicite you were when this game was brand new. This means that to get new jobs, you may be spending up to 8 times more of your money than you were before. I wanted to start this with a brief history on Mobius Global so you would have the same perspective as a launch player when discussing some of the other points I'm going to get into. Square Enix's cash-grabbing tendencies have been getting worse and worse lately, and I dare say I see them already on the same path as EA before things get any better. And I'm actually more surprised at these antics, especially those around I'm surprised no one came out with like videos about the math and everything. until now, basically, me doing it. Probably because Mobius FF tends to be less popular than other mobile FF titles. And now we can kind of begin to see why. So, that dark past is weighing down hard on the Mobius community all the time. The other thing about Mobius communities are they're kind of a reflection of feudal Japan in the fact that they're completely isolated islands. Most Mobius FF communities can be pretty harsh to outsiders, and that is one primary reason I decided to create the Dreamer Society community. As a side note to that, I was going to actually call it the Good Guy Gang, because I was really pushing for people to be like polite and nice to each other. But basically everywhere I went to look for questions and ask for answers, I was greeted with extremely elitist attitudes. And, you know, in a game where knowledge of mechanics and battle modalities is what makes you strong, like in this game knowledge is literally power, that's what led me down this path of making Mobius FF content and guides for you guys. So it was basically the fact that I couldn't get information anywhere without just basically being greeted with some negativity and some nastiness. What I have noticed from these communities is they do very little working together and even harbor some hostility towards one another. The Twitch Mobius community essentially eats their own, as I've seen chatters relentlessly trolling streamers playing the game. I'm not even just talking about me. I'm gonna leave names out of this, but you know, it's happened to me too. I've been there, guys. Some trolling is harmless, but when it's non-stop, it's basically harassment, and it's not fun to sit through as a viewer. And it's definitely not fun to sit through as a broadcaster, let's be real. I've also seen good streamers have no viewers because they're not a quote-unquote known Mobius streamer, which makes no sense. I've seen the YouTube community for Mobius FF publicly bashed in the Reddit threads and forum posts. I've personally been a victim to this, and the stuff they've said is actually pretty hilarious. Like, I've been called like a mega whale, which, like, if you follow my content, like, you know that's not the case at all. I've seen posts from Steam calling out Reddit community. I just don't understand the hostility from each community. I think it's because Mobius FF players are competitive. There is a bit of competitiveness to this game when it comes to like towers and stuff like that. And Mobius players seem to like keeping their secrets. And maybe they hate us YouTubers because YouTubers love to share secrets, you know what I mean? The communities not working together has had huge downsides though. Since networking is virtually impossible, these communities will never reach critical growth numbers. Let me put things into perspective a bit more. Let me give y'all some numbers. So as of today, 5/20/2018, the official Mobius Final Fantasy YouTube has 1,405 subscribers. No. If that sounds like a lot, it's not. 1,405 subscribers on the official Mobius Final Fantasy YouTube. Monkey Man, who I used to watch religiously for Mobius FF content, has about 1,654 subscribers. Lotus Moon, who, you know, now he's on hiatus, so his numbers aren't as good as they once were. He's still got about 1,263. I personally have an amazing over 1,500 amazing subscribers. Thank you guys all for sure for all that. But you can clearly see that something is wrong here. Something is way wrong when the content creators have more subscribers than the actual developers themselves. Like, this is a huge problem. On a side note, both of those YouTubers I mentioned, Monkey Man and Lotus Moon, are amazing, and I feel like they deserve 10 times the following. But it's clear to see from these numbers that Square Enix has no plans to meaningfully grow a community, or even just plain advertise their game. And how hard is it, honestly, how hard is it to shout out other content creators for supporting your damn game, and why has this never happened before? Me personally, I would love to hear if any of you YouTubers or any of you content creators, if Square Enix has ever reached out for you regarding this game. I know for me personally, I've been supporting this game since launch, and I've never heard a thing. And that's pretty rough. That's pretty rough as a content creator. Where Square Enix can help bridge these gaps, they're simply not showing any signs of trying to mend this fractured community. Our community leaders have little to no presence in our home on Reddit, and that's the only place you'll ever see them. My hope is that they start paying attention and fix some of the bigger Mobius FF global issues before it's too late. So, I know that was kind of a lot, you guys. I know it was kind of a lot. This video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I do feel like we had to talk about the history before we talk about some of the bad things that are going on, some of the other bad things that are going on in this game. I really made this video as a form of like constructive criticism. Basically what not to do, how not to run a game, basically. Hopefully this doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. If you do have anything to add below, or you have, you know, you don't agree, that's fine. Even if you do agree, or you have anything you want to add, please feel free to throw it in the comments, and I will definitely get back to you. We'll keep the discussion going in the comments. And look forward to more. Let me know if you guys enjoy this type of video, and I enjoy making this type of video, so look forward to some more discussion type videos. I really appreciate you guys coming by, checking me out, showing your support for a little Mobius YouTuber, you know what I mean? But we are gonna start expanding everything, so buckle yourselves in. It's gonna be such a fun and amazing ride. It's gonna be an awesome year, you guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll catch you on the next video.